Today, we are reading about people's scary stalker stories. These stalkers went as far as to harass all of the girls at their school, a man watching them through their window, and one of these guys was willing to join the army to follow this woman. So today we ask the question, what is your scariest stalker story? A few years ago, my anxiety was high. I was already at a point in my life where I thought I was a little out of it, but that was amplified by a lot when I kept repeatedly hearing noises outside my window. Like every single night, it just wouldn't stop. I would finally get so freaked out I would go wake up my parents and tell them to look outside, but they never found anything. I started to think I was crazy or was just subconsciously seeking attention. One morning, my grandfather discovered one of our lawn chairs beneath our bathroom window. It's pretty high up and the bottom pane is fogged, so I'm not sure the chair even helped, but it was left there regardless. The next night, heard sounds again. Nothing. The night after, however, we checked outside and discovered something that made my stomach churn. A small stepladder was sitting directly outside of my window, back just enough to allow someone to sit on it but still see. On my windowsill was a bag of now cold McDonald's, which is just up the street from me. Most of the food was still in there, but still. Some fucker had been watching me doing absolutely nothing of interest in my room without me knowing for I don't know how fucking long. The cops were called, nothing happened. I felt crazier than ever. No one was to be found, but at least we had some evidence that someone that shouldn't be hovering around our house was at my window, watching intently through the blinds in a space between the two curtains. I heard noises the next night, ran outside, nothing. Earlier in the night, I had sewn my curtains together, which hopefully made it harder to see. Apparently it did, because now the fucker has taken to climbing on top of our air conditioning unit, and from there, climbing onto our garbage can, then standing on that so they could see above where the drapes went. The handprints and shoe prints were left on the lid to prove it. I should also mention there were now holes in my screen, and I heard these holes be created. He took a stick and sharpened it somehow, we found it outside my window, and was trying to stealthily break away the screen bit by bit. The hole is still there. The next night, I distinctly heard the gravel near my window crunch. There was simply no mistaking it. As stealthily as I could, I let out a small moan he surely heard and rolled just out of view, as if I were sleeping, then pressed myself against a wall out of view of the window, very quietly opened my door and crept down the hall. My heart was pounding. Normally I knock on my parents' door, but I knew the slightest sound would make the bastard bolt, so I quietly opened their door and I snuck in, then informed them there was without a single doubt somebody outside my window. They didn't mind the intrusion and got up, got dressed, formulated a plan, and crept to the back door. I ran to the bathroom to stand on the edge of our tub and peek outside the window, just as the back door was thrown open and my parents ran outside like morons, and sure enough, they saw him. They started screaming as the man leapt off the garbage can and bolted down our driveway, which was what I was looking at. They screamed all sorts of horrible things at the top of their lungs. "You sick motherfucker, I'm gonna kill you," from my dad, and "you fucking freak," from my mom. He ended up escaping down the street, hiding behind a house adjacent to us. The balls on this bastard. He kept peeking out at us as we all stood outside. But we wanted to leave him there so the cops could finally nab him. They were called, they came, they searched, but they never found him. He must have hopped a fence or something. Still to this day, I hear sounds outside my window, even in the dead of winter. But he's never out there. He may have just been a peeper, but he targeted me specifically and for months until he was caught. What really pisses me off is that once he lost interest in me because it was too unsafe, he moved on to a house down the street with 2 little girls. Oh my god. I still don't think he was caught even then. All I know is that it could have been way worse, but it messed me up. I trust the men in my neighborhood even less now. The men around here stare very blatantly. I've been chased home by one. I've had a guy try to jerk me into his car when I was passing him, telling him no, I don't need a ride and to leave me alone. All these years later, I still hear shit outside my window and I freak out. It's fucked up. I turn out my lights entirely to exercise. I do my best to avoid windows when I undress. It just scarred me, even though it wasn't a huge deal. Wait, is 100% a huge deal. That would be incredibly violating, and you are so valid in feeling that way. There's this guy I met at the same time I met my current boyfriend, even met him in the same place. About 10 years older and not my type. I only talked to him when absolutely necessary. Altogether, maybe 2 hours of completely impersonal and polite, I don't have the guts to tell you to fuck off conversation. Well, my boyfriend and I started dating and the other guy blows it. Follows us to a club. I notice, freak, run to the bathroom with a girlfriend. My boyfriend talks to him. Guy starts acting like a 5-year-old, even cries. We leave. About a month later, I find a creepy love letter in my mail. He had delivered it himself. That creep had followed me to my door and found out where I lived. Fast forward 1 year, I no longer frequent the place I met him because he basically lives there. Neither does my boyfriend. Apart from a few awkward, unavoidable run-ins in the city, nothing. Until exactly a year after I started dating my boyfriend. I get a card in the mail, delivered himself, asking me out as if nothing had happened and as though we were dating. It was a whole year of no contact. I didn't react. We moved, and the summer we did, I started noticing the guy at the mall. First, I thought it was a coincidence, but then a shop owner I know tells me the guy's following me and keeps hiding when I turn around. What the fuck? I tell him the whole story. He promises to inform other owners he knows and call mall security next time he sees him. It's been well over 2 years. I don't want to work as a waitress even though I desperately need the money because I know he would find me and he would sit there all day and night watching me. I don't want to work anywhere near the place I met him, which is basically anywhere near city center. I don't go to the mall alone anymore. I don't go to certain supermarkets and cafes because I know he frequents them. I don't even know this guy's last name and he controls where I go to and where I'm cautious, even where we move to. I wish I could leave the city, but I can't, and even if I did, he knows both my first and last name. I only know his first name and what he looks like. He can find me easily, and it's going to be even easier once I finish university. I'm aiming for a university teaching position, and they display your info on the internet. They have to, for the students. He could come to my open classes or lectures. He could follow me again, and I'm scared. They have to be able to do something. I do not understand the bullshit of like, oh, they have to like actually make a threat, like in person, or like actually threaten your life. Why? Why would you let it get that far? Why are you letting it escalate to that? That makes no sense. Mine was actually an ex-boyfriend. The stalking started after the breakup, but the entire relationship was. We had been friends for a few years when we started dating my junior year of high school. After we started dating, he completely became a different person, or maybe let the true him shine through. He'd always grab my phone and look through my text messages and call logs. He wanted to be together all the time, no matter what. Even if I was studying, he had already graduated high school and worked full time. I'd have random crazy girls calling me, telling me they were going to beat me or they were going to fuck my man. He'd be insanely jealous, and when we would fight, he'd get so mad he would throw his phone across the room or across the street. Good old Nokias, always unbreakable. The whole relationship was crazy, and I tried to end it at least 6 to 7 times over the 1.5 year span of all of it. Every time we would break up, he'd go batshit crazy and do the I'm gonna myself bit. He'd call and call and call and want to talk and talk until I eventually would say, if I agree to get back together with you, will you back off? Not healthy, I know, but I had shit to do. Sports, school, a job. I didn't have time to deal with it. It was just easier to agree to get back together. One time I broke up with him because he told me he had been having headaches, so he went to the doctor that day and found out that he had a brain aneurysm and only had 8 months to live. We had 2 friends die in a car accident on the same day, exactly 1 year apart, about 4 months before this, and a year and 4 months before this. So when I realized that 8 months from then would be the same month as our friends' deaths, I was completely freaked out. And we got back together because I honestly believed that we had some curse against our friends and that exact date. And wouldn't you know, those 8 months came and went without a single trip back to the doctor for his brain aneurysm. Here's where it gets crazy, like as if that's not crazy. My senior year, I had no idea how to get out of this relationship, so I started looking into out-of-state colleges, figuring there's no way he would follow me. If I could just put up with the crazy until that summer, I'd be off in a magical world of college and no crazy boyfriend. He must have seen the brochure from the college I was interested in because suddenly he wanted to go to that college. He even went as far as taking the SATs. I knew my plan wasn't going to work. He'd follow me wherever I went, so what did I do? I joined the fucking army. That'll show him. Try following me in there, right? Next thing I know, he's meeting with a recruiter. Of course, the likelihood of him being stationed where I was is very slim, but I didn't know that at the time. I was young and scared. I realized the army was a dumb idea and wrote a letter to the commissioner, whoever's the head honcho of recruitments. I explained that I had lied on my physical, as the recruiters tell you to do, and sent a copy of all my medical records. I was let out shortly after that. I don't remember how it finally happened, but we broke up. I changed my phone number and cut off connection with all of our shared friends. Yay, the end of crazy, free at last, or so I thought. For the next few months after the breakup, until I left for college, he would randomly show up where I was. The movie theater, tennis courts, restaurants that we never went to before. He'd want to talk, but I'd always say I have to leave immediately. He would get furious if he saw me with another guy, no matter who the guy was. It could have been my cousin, and he would have flipped his shit. I still have no idea how he knew where I was going. Once I left for college, 90 minutes away, I thought it would be over. I heard he had come to my college a few times to see other friends, but I would stay in my dorm those nights, afraid that I would see him if I went out. During my freshman year of college, one of our close friends from that same group killed himself. Oh my god. I came home to attend the funeral. My ex was pretty distraught since this was the 3rd friend of ours to die in 3 years. I had no choice but to be nice to him. I mean, it was a funeral for our good friend. After the funeral, everyone was going over to a friend's house just to spend time together. I didn't want to go, but my friends convinced me.
While at the house, my ex starts talking to me. I act polite, but I try to avoid him. It doesn't work. He's right next to me all night, trying to kiss me, put his arm around me, whatever he could. Somehow this translates into him thinking we're back together. FML. I tell him I'm leaving, he freaks out, he gets my number somehow from somebody at the party, starts texting, calling all the time. This continued for 5 years. 5 years. I moved out of state and do not talk to anyone from there anymore. Finally, the phone calls stopped. I still get weird whenever I go back to my hometown, constantly surveying the area, scared that I'm going to see him again. And if I happen to be with my significant other, I won't even venture into any part of the city that I think there's a chance he could be in. The army. Like, joining the army. You were willing to join the army to get away from him, and he was willing to join to be with you. What the hell? I once had a classmate, let's call him Bob. Bob was in a glass closet. He would reaffirm his straightness by repeatedly hitting on all of the girls in class. One day, I suggested he explore and embrace his sexuality instead of hiding and running from it. He decided to prove to everyone how straight he was by dating me to prove me wrong. The day after that, in chemistry class, Bob excitedly told me that he was now my lab partner. "It's chemistry," he exclaimed. I tolerated it. I tolerated Bob spewing unfunny science-ish jokes and trying to edge closer to me. I tolerated him finding me in between classes to give me gifts of fortune cookies. I'm Asian. Oh, wow. I figured he would just tire and drop the whole thing. Oh my god. I was wrong. One afternoon, a bit after I got home from school, the doorbell rang. I look outside. It's Bob. This was in the era when internet was dial-up and few people had it. The time when we still paid money to remove our name and address from phone book listings. The only way he could have learned where I lived was to follow me. When I turned away without answering the door, he began to bang on the door and scream my name. I ended up having to chase him off with a baseball bat. The next day I went to school and told the administrators what had happened. Turns out this isn't the first time Bob has done this to a girl. He had stalked some half-dozen other girls and begged for dates. I'm not sure what happened afterwards, if he was put into counseling or punished or whatever. All I know was Bob stopped going to that school and pretty much nobody spoke of him again. Bob just disappeared. Where did Bob go? It's okay to be gay, Bob. And that's all I'm gonna read for now. If you guys have any stalker stories that you want to share with me, I do have a subreddit and I will have it linked down below. But I'm gonna go. See you in the next one. Bye.